Hello there, Badgers. One angry pig in here. Right. So I have some thoughts on what happened or what is happening over these local elections here in on the island of Great Britain, and I have a feeling that a fair number of people are going to disagree with my opinion on this, and it's fine. Everyone's got their opinions on this. Um, but I think there are some core points that we can all agree on here. So it's been a massive loss for the Tories, from what I've been able to see, and this makes a major fracture in the right wing vote, which is good. I also think that there's definitely a measure of Reform UK being a protest vote. Um, and whilst I'm not particularly, this is like the last election was my second general election that I paid attention to. So, but either way, when it comes to these local elections, I've seen protest votes and and how that's worked and whatnot. And this does seem to be massive protest vote, just the general dissatisfaction and impatience from the electorate. I'm Now, don't get me wrong. I definitely think that the like a part of the reason for this is major missteps by Labour, but I think that they're also caused by other headwinds that Labour have got coming at them, and this could have been worse. From what I'm seeing, this could have been worse. I'm hoping that, and I'll just there already I've had arguments against the point I'm about to make, and I understand the point, the counterpoints. I really do. But this still is the beginning of this parliament, and I see various routes that this parliament could take in the next 3.5 years, 3.5 4 years. So I really, a part of me really wants to rebel against this tide of emotion against Labour. But at the same time, I do understand it because the trans community and the disabled community are feeling a bit like, what the actual fuck? But I still think that on one part, I think I've said this before on this channel. I think on one part, people are underestimating what the government can do, and on another part, they're also overestimating what a government can do, especially within certain arbitrary um, timetables. Like people were expecting change immediately. Like the change is going through Parliament. But I wanted to see change now. You didn't say that, did you? So I feel kind of mixed up here because on one half, like my pragmatic side of me is just telling me, wait. We've already seen a lot of, um, you know, effects in the NHS happening more and more and more in different parts of this island. Wait till the all this other legislation comes through. I mean, the water legislation has only recently gone through, so give it another 6 months before I check it up again to see what the effects on that are. Um, I don't. I mean, Phil put Phil from Different Bias put it in a way where I'm kind of like I agree, but something still feels off. Like he was saying that like Labour aren't are specifically going for a tactic of even if they can't communicate it well, just make their lives better. I'm like, okay, but I still feel a bit like, will it be enough? But that's just it. We don't know yet. People are saying they definitely do know, but we're at the beginning. I come back to my point of we are still at the beginning of this parliament. And again, you can argue with me on this if you want. That's cool, but I want to see what happens after this legislation comes into effect, and we can see whether or not the legislation does what it says it's going to do, and see if we get actually any beneficial effects out of it. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm waiting for. But again, I also understand this whole thing. You know, the trans thing that was unnecessary, and they didn't need to do that, and it's really that's fucked me off. The PIP thing that's fucking stupid. Didn't need to do that. But on a number of the environmental matters, they're still, they're trying to push forward with it. So, and again, I'm waiting for the renters bill, the renters rights bill, the workers rights bill, and other stuff to go through Parliament and go into like actually get enacted, and then and then see what it's like in action. I guess this makes me sound a bit naive in that respect, but like no, I like it's more. How do I put this? It's more scientific. I want to see the effect. I want to see the process, to see the method, see if the results come out. And yeah, you can say all you like that right now. Like no, I'm saying it now. It won't work. Fine. Then you will be correct if it doesn't work. But what if it does work? What are you gonna fucking say then? Oh, but it isn't. All right then. But we're gonna see if it does first. I mean, don't get me wrong. You. I think there are a lot of things that Labour should be doing. I mean, land value tax, straight up. I don't think that should even be, something that's being argued about. Just do it for fuck's sake. LVT, land value tax. Just fucking do it. Work out a way to do it and fucking do it. just to prove a point that there are some ways that we can do wealth taxes. Like, just do it. I am uneasy about loosening of regulations around house building, but it depends on what regulations and in what way they do it. Because there is such a thing as over-regulation, which is what, can chock up this whole system. But I think, Labour's communication skills is just so shockingly shit. Like, we're bringing this up, but we haven't seen any effects right now. I'm like, it's still at the beginning of this parliament. I really don't know how else to put it. Like, I want them to do better. I keep getting this argument, seeing with the Trump thing, like, oh, we're going to kissing Trump's ass, and it's like, oh, why can't we be more like Canada? Because Canada has more geopolitical capital than fucking we do, a whole lot more, especially against Trump. If Brexit hadn't happened, we might have had the firm standing to go fuck you, Trump. But Brexit has happened. We do actually have to live with that reality. And the reality seems to be that we don't have the leverage that people seem to think we do. Like, a lot of the measures I gather that my fellows on the left want Starmer to take will just cause more damage to our economy. And right now, we do not need that. Guess this makes me sound a bit more like a liberal. I'm just looking at it on a practical basis, and in case on a point of practicality here, not what I ideally want, but what's actually going on right now. I want to see. I do think it's a bit, a lot of what I've been told are reasons why we can't do wealth taxes. Some of them are a bit like, I think you can get around that. I think seizure of Russian assets. At this point, just that's one of those where I might be a bit more reckless with this. I'm like, no, just fucking take the Russian assets for fuck's sake. Bollocks to them. So yeah, Labour are not doing the greatest job at the moment, but I don't think they're doing the worst job either. And again, I want to see what happens when the legislation that we're waiting for goes into effect, and we've had some time to see this legislation in action. Call me naive if you want. Call me a liberal if you want. I'm not. But that's just how my brain works. I want to see this in action first. I want to see it proved correct or incorrect, or any of the nuances in between. I said I'd be willing to give them a year to a year and a half. It's not quite a year yet. If the legislation is going to be is going to be enacted within the next 6 months, then I will give them one more year gap to really go right. I want to see this in action. Because I still think that the communications problem is a big problem. I think the immigration direction is a big issue. I get that they're not likely to change they're not likely to change their trajectory on the immigration policies, but I really wish they would. This is why, I mean, I'm practical. I would vote. I vote for Lib Dems down here. Where do you guys? What do you guys think on on the points I've had to say, especially with the point on legislation and that the whole point of we are still at the beginning of this parliament. These are I think those are the main two things I want to I want people to think about, because I never expected things to get immediately better. It seems I'm one of those few people that did not expect that. I still expect things to get better, relatively speaking, over from what we've had over the last 14 years. I expect, especially over the last 5, I expect things to get better, but again, I think it's a case of, will this legislation work that they're pushing forward? And I think the other question is, do we reckon that Labour's communications can get better, and how likely do we think they are likely to get better, considering we are at the beginning still of this parliament? I find it. I do. I find myself in a really fucking weird position where, like, obviously, I don't agree with anything that Reform is saying, but I can understand why a lot of people are like, Labour haven't changed anything, said we're going to change, and they haven't changed anything, and like, Reform has said they're going to change stuff. Yeah, let's vote for them. Oh, we can't fucking trust the Tories, despite the fact they're Tories joining Reform. Despite that, yeah, vote Reform. Fuck's sake. It's fucking idiotic. But I can see where they're coming from, because most people don't think about politics like me or the rest of us who are into politics like that. But I think it's a mistake to think that Labour are just the Red Tories. And until or unless they actually go down proper, like fully down Tory policy route, I'm not going to agree with that point of view. I'm sorry, I'm just not, because it's, and the whole thing of Tory light. Well, again, if you're just going to look at left right instead of, I mean, the political compass, okay, but I think there's more than just a political compass. There's 8 values and 9 values. I like the 12 values test or 11 values test. I think that's good. Look at that. It's more diverse and a bit more, tells you a bit more about where people are, I reckon. But like, there's more nationalisation happening now than there has been in all my lifetime. I want to see if the legislation that's come forward for water companies actually does what it says it's gonna do. So I want to give it another 6 months to a year on that policy to see if if that works, see if we get results from it or not. But it's still going to be, from what I understand, another 6 months to 6 to 8 months before the other legislation actually passes and goes into and gets enacted. So it'll be another 4 to 5 months after that before we see some action on that. That's what I mean. Like it's not what people want to hear. This is why I think people are going for reform. It's not what people want to hear. All these minutiae, all this nuance. Yeah, that's not what people want to hear. Unfortunately, these are the things that are happening. To put forward these to get any changes through, you've got to go through the process of putting legislation through Parliament. Like, what else can you say on it? you know, a part of me does understand the impatience, but a part of me is really flabbergasted by this impatience because it's like, well, yeah, but you could have go through the process of putting this stuff into practice before you actually. I don't know. It's like people are going, like, we should learn to jump before we learn how to walk. Forget about running, just go straight to jumping. What? I don't know. That's it. I think the two. I'll go back to what I said earlier. I think the two main points I want people to take away from this is one, this is still the beginning of the Parliament, and two, I want to see what comes of the legislation that's being passed and is going to be passed. I don't think it's helpful to just assume what's going to happen before it actually happens and create a whole climate of fear around it. That's me personally. Let me know what you think on this, because I'm annoyed at the results of last night and today, but there's more nuance in what's happened here than just everyone hates Labour. And I know that's what's going to be the main message here from from these local elections, but for me, I think there's a lot more to read into this, and I think it's not just a case of everyone hates Labour. I mean, the Tories lost big, it seems, in these elections, and it will be interesting to see what happens in the next few sets of local elections and at the next general election. All can happen in a year. So, if by the time we get to, if when we get to this time next year and nothing has changed for the better, I will, I'm already at a point of exasperation with Labour. I will be thoroughly pissed off if nothing has changed for the better by this time next year. It is. I can see why it's difficult, especially when your general mindset is day to day, where I can see where it's difficult to see where my point of I want to see what happens when the legislation comes into effect. Well, I want to feel better. I want changes to happen now. I get that. It doesn't work like that. they with big changes, you need to get the legislation through. And given, you also got to take into effect that, like, your personal leftist opinions, especially if you're watching this video, your personal leftist opinions aren't the consensus of the electorate. I'm sorry, it just isn't. Yes, we can do the whole individual policies thing. Yeah. You put them all together and it sounds like socialism to them, and they're like, nah, fuck off. I know, it's irrational. But there you go. You've got to work with what you're given, not what you think should be there. Okay? I mean, that's how so many people, so many scientists have been caught by fucking surprise when they think they've established facts, and what they knew about those facts turned out to be wrong. Or at least turned out to be not what they thought it was. Not that the facts in of themselves didn't happen in the first place, not being dragged into this one, but that what we knew about them, that's the only thing that's changed. Either way, please just, I think a big takeaway from this is that the Tories have lost big, and you know, I think a good question, another good question here is, will Kemi Badenoch keep her seat? I think we need to, it needs to be kept in mind we are still at the beginning of this parliament, and the second question, I think, coming from this is, will the coming legislation have the effect that Labour say it will? So let me know what you guys think. I know I've kind of wibbly wobbly timey-wimey around this all this stuff, but that's where my brain is at when it comes to all this, because I've done a whole lot of thinking when it comes to these local elections and where Labour are and what's going on with our political situation, especially, and comparing it to other countries' political situations. I do wonder, do you guys think I'm naive? Do you think I'm missing something? Do you think I've got it right? Do you think that I've got some things right and some things wrong? What do you reckon? I do think we need to be a little bit less fearmongery about this stuff at the moment. Don't get me wrong, the trans issue, I'm not just downplaying that one. That needs to be fought back on. I'm not going to argue on that one. The PIP stuff also, as I've said more than once throughout this video, also needs to be fought back on. But otherwise I don't actually think that Labour are Tory-like. Come at me. I'm gonna do a bit more reading on the outcome of all this, and I'm gonna see what others think about this. I'll probably do another video soon about this subject. I've still got some more envirovids to do. I know it's been a good few months since I've done envirovids. Need to get around to some of the. Still trying to make it so I could do live streams outside as well. That seems to be doing my head, and it doesn't. Like, in some places it does work, and in other places it doesn't. So I need to work out where the ideal place is to do a live stream out in the woods. So for now, let me know what you guys think. My sword at your service, and my shield at your backs, badgers. Blessed be. Freaks, love and blessings.